West Africa. The Fulbright program, international studies. You can do it.
Hi. We got a few questions from one of our subscribers, the Beauty Goddess 24.
Hi, Beauty Goddess 24.
Hello there. Yeah, thanks so much for your questions, and for watching our vlogs. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, your question was, talk about your major and what can one do with an international studies degree, and you also asked about Gloria's experiences.
So I majored in international studies and economics as an undergraduate at the University of Washington. It's a very versatile degree. You're really getting a skill set as opposed to being, directed or channeled into a particular profession. And with those skill sets are transferable. So you could enter a variety of professions with those skills, including going to law school to become a lawyer. You could work in the private sector, for example, in a consulting firm like McKinsey. I have a couple classmates who have done that. You could work in the public sector. A huge number of people who study international studies or international relations end up working for NGOs. So, you could go to Eastern Europe and work with a microfinance organization, or you could work with a women's group or be an advocate for children's rights in India. You can also work domestically, of course, like the Gates Foundation. They focus on public health internationally, but they focus on education policy in the US, and they're based in Seattle. They're a private foundation working in the public sector. Then, of course, Washington, D.C. and New York City are huge hubs for lots of NGOs that are that do work both in the US and abroad. Some people will end up volunteering, like you could work for the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is a 2-year program. Even though you're a volunteer, you do get paid, but it's basically a stipend for a living. You're not going to be saving a huge amount of money, but it gives you great experience and it opens up a lot of doors. Some people end up working for the government, so you could work for your foreign ministry or the State Department as it's called in the US. You could also work for local government, so a state legislature or even a city government. And if you want to do something related to international relations, then you could work in the trade office or try to get on the trade portfolio, or you could do cultural and educational exchanges. So there's just so much you can do with an international studies degree. Some people even end up going to med school. I mean, there's no end to what you can do with it. And for the second part of the question, which was about my experiences, I had not traveled abroad by myself until I got to college, and then I sort of got bitten by a travel bug after my very first trip, which was to Ghana. It's a smaller country in West Africa, and I went for a 4-week volunteer program the first summer of college, so the summer after my freshman year. And I volunteered with a local NGO. It was started by Ghanaians. They worked on HIV/AIDS education in their community, and they also ran a small primary school. So basically after that I went back to Ghana several more times. I did an internship with a large NGO in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is in Central Africa. That was really my first job after I graduated. I was there for almost a year, and then I traveled. I went backpacking with one of my friends from high school. We were in Southeast Asia, and we went to Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and southern China. I studied Korean in South Korea for about 6 months, and then I also studied Chinese for 5 months in Beijing and 6 months in Taiwan. That was when I met Tim.
Yep.
And then I did a 9-month independent research program in Zambia, which is in southern Africa. I've also done an internship in South Korea. So yeah, I have traveled a fair bit, especially in the last 4 to 5 years. I think if you are a student, a university or college level student, that's an amazing time to travel and to take advantage of whatever opportunities are around you. I highly suggest doing a study abroad for at least 1 semester. I was in Ghana for my study abroad. I was there for 5 months at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, which is the 2nd largest city in Ghana. That was also an incredible experience. There are also a lot of postgraduate programs. There's the Fulbright program, which allows you to do independent research or teach English in a country abroad. That's what I was doing in Zambia, and that's also a really awesome program. I mean, when I was in Zambia on the Fulbright, people were just shocked, like, so your government is giving you money to just research whatever you want? I was like, yeah, they do that. And people were like, wow, we don't have that in my country. So that's definitely something to look into. You can apply while you're in college, and you can also apply after you've graduated. A lot of people also will go abroad via the teaching English route, and that's something Tim has experienced and that I've seen a lot in Korea and of course Taiwan.
As far as teaching in Asia goes, there are plenty of teaching opportunities out there, but again, you've got to be very selective with what sort of jobs you can get. Actually, it would be very, very wise to go online and check out the jobs first. Preferably avoid agents. I've heard some horror stories from people that I've met in Asia, and particularly in Taiwan, who had gone through agents and just found themselves in different sorts of predicaments. Usually a safe bet to go through is usually one of the bigger franchises that are out there, like the Hess language schools or the Shane English schools.
This is in Taiwan, though.
In Taiwan, yeah. The Shane schools are actually quite wide. They're in Vietnam. They're in Japan. They actually started out in Japan, and they're in Taiwan. I think now they're in China as well. Of course, I mean, do a bit of homework. Some franchises don't pay very well, whereas others do. But the flip side is, if you do go through a franchise, they tend to take very good care of all the administration, the visas, and all the legalities of moving over. So I went through the Shane English Schools group when I first moved over, and they were really excellent as far as setting me up and taking care of me when I arrived.
Another thing I would suggest is just comparing cost of living in different places you're interested in teaching in, because if you look just at salary, you would probably learn that the pay is higher in absolute terms in Japan and South Korea, but then if you look at cost of living, you'll notice there's a reason for the higher pay, because those places are just much more expensive to live in than, say, Beijing or Taipei. So that's also something you might want to consider.
Yeah. So again, just go online and there's plenty of websites on teaching English.
That's just a really general video. I hope that it made sense. Hope it was somewhat helpful. And if you have any other questions, please let us know.
Good luck.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Cheerio. Someone's sleepy.
Yeah.